It is the month of... What is wrong?
I got a bone.
I gotta eat it in here with you guys. I don't know where you guys went. Alright. And good. Is that gonna be too loud? Okay.
Well, I mean,
No, we can do that.
yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right, I'm good if you are.
I'm ready.
Hello everyone. Welcome once again to Editing Academy. Darryl,
Laura.
Laura, what is the year and what are the movies that we're going to be talking about?
These are the movies that were released in 2012 and nominated for Best Picture in 2013. And the 5 we'll be talking about today are Argo, Amour, Django Unchained, Les Miserables, and Lincoln. And then we will be talking at another time about Beasts of the Southern Wild, Life of Pi, Silver Linings Playbook, and Zero Dark 30.
I think the latter one is stacked again, but that's me.
We'll find out.
Yes, we will.
We'll find out.
Okay, other notables that came out that year: The Hunger Games, Ice Age: Continental Drift, The Avengers, Skyfall, The Hobbit Part 1, Dark Knight Rises, The Amazing Spider-Man, the reboot with, no, the one after Tobey.
Andrew Garfield.
Correct.
Okay.
Twilight Saga: Breaking Dawn Part 2, so that one's now done. Prometheus, the Aliens reboot. Ted, Men in Black 3. The Place Beyond the Pines, I don't know if you ever saw
I
that.
haven't, no.
It's one of Ryan's first indie films.
Ryan
The pretty one.
Gosling?
Yes.
Oh, there you go. I'm very proud of that. He's very pretty too.
He is.
So, okay.
It's an early film. It's
Okay.
total indie. It's really good. Seeking a Friend for the End of the World.
Oh, I do like that.
Yeah,
I like
that's
that a lot. Yeah, that's a fun one.
Killing Them Softly, the Brad Pitt Irish movie. Which
Have
is,
not seen
I
that.
think, the only Brad Pitt movie I don't like. His Irish accent is horrible.
For my people, I don't think I can see it. Yeah.
Spring Breakers, which
Okay.
is better than it ever should have been. I don't know if you ever saw that.
No.
Snow White and the Huntsman.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So out of all of those, including our 10, what were the top 5 for that year?
Several of the first 3 that you named. So there was an Ice Age in there.
Yep, that was number 5.
Okay. What was the first one that you said?
Hunger Games?
Hunger Games.
No.
Really? Oh, I'm surprised. Okay.
It was
The Avengers.
It was released late in the year, though.
Oh, okay. All right. The Avengers.
Yes, that was number 1.
Dark Knight.
It was number 3.
The Twilight.
No.
Oh, because that has slipped me up a couple of times because I keep forgetting that one, and it's usually in the top 5. All right, I'm going to look at this group, and I'm going to say none of that group.
That is correct.
Okay, all right.
Although Life of Pi was pretty high. I think it made the top 10.
Oh,
for
I'm
the
actually
year.
surprised out of this group that's the top. All right, any other cartoons in that mix that you listed?
No.
All right, then I'm out.
So Avengers was number 1.
Yep.
Skyfall was number 2.
Skyfall.
Dark Knight Rises was 3. And unfortunately, The Hobbit was number 4.
Oh, yeah. Okay, it makes sense, but I would not have gone there. And what was number 5 again?
Ice Age.
Okay, yeah. All right.
All right. Let's
It'd be
do.
interesting, and we'll find this out as we go along, whether the rest of the Hobbits also made the top 5.
They probably will. I
Yeah,
wouldn't be
like the
surprised.
Avatars do. People
Yeah.
go to see. Okay.
But here we go.
Nice clap.
That was weird.
Okay, well, do it again?
No, you want to do it?
Okay.
Nice.
Very crisp.
Maybe you do part 1 and I do part 2.
Oh, I like it. Okay.
All right, let's dive into Argo. Argo, directed, produced, and starring Ben Affleck. Screenplay was written by Chris Terrio. Was adapted from the 1999 memoir The Master of Disguise by U.S. CIA operative Tony Mendez. And what started it all, the 2007 Wired article, The Great Escape, How the CIA Used a Fake Sci-Fi Flick to Rescue Americans from Tehran, which was written by Joshua Behrman. It was nominated for a ton of stuff: Best Picture, Supporting Actor, Adapted Screenplay, Film Editing, Score, Sound Editing, Sound Mixing. It did win for Adapted Screenplay and Film Editing, as well as, right out of the gate, Best Picture.
Okay. So the summary from IMDb is acting under the cover of a Hollywood producer scouting a location for a science fiction film, a CIA agent launches a dangerous operation to rescue 6 Americans in Tehran during the U.S. hostage crisis in 1979.
Probably the most accurate one we've had in a while.
I think that's it. That's what it was. Kind of simple time and place. So I got a couple of fun facts, one of which is President Carter was, they showed the film to him, and he said he enjoyed it as a film, but he said that 90% of the idea and the consummation of the plan came from the Canadians, not the CIA, and they deserve the credit, and the hero of this story is the Canadian ambassador, Ken Taylor, who let in the Americans, in his opinion. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of historical inaccuracies to make it a good film, and so we need to look at the film.
That's going to happen a couple times.
Yes, exactly. Yes, it might happen again. And then the funnest of the fun facts was the Led Zeppelin song "When the Levee Breaks" is in this movie, and Led Zeppelin is notoriously difficult to get their rights for their songs from.
Okay.
And so Ben Affleck pled, kind of individually to them and said, please, I really want this, it makes a big difference. And so they saw the film and they said, okay, you can use it, but you have to reshoot the film when you put on the record because you're having Tate Donovan put it in the first groove on the first side, and the song is on the last song on the second side. And so they had to refilm Tate putting it on the record to make sure it was in the correct groove where the song is, which I kind of love.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Yeah.
Sure, okay, you can use it, but get it right.
But get it accurate, exactly. And then, of course, I think what everybody knows is famously Ben Affleck was not nominated for Best Director for this film.
Yeah.
He won Best Director at the Golden Globes and did not even get nominated, even though the movie won.
Yeah, interesting. We've talked about his directing before, and I think we're both fans of his directing.
Huge fan.
This movie, no exception. All right, I was a little nervous going into this. I had seen this before and remember really enjoying the movie and not questioning the historical accuracy, just enjoying it as a movie. And sometimes we both know that you may enjoy a movie the first time, but it's not a repeat movie. Like the second time you watch it, you don't have the same experience, it doesn't hold up, whatever. Very pleasantly surprised. I still love the hell out of this film.
Yes, yep, I agree completely. I really enjoyed it on the rewatch. I watched it with a friend, and the funny thing that she said, which was true, is you know how this story ends, historically and because you've seen the movie before, and it is still incredibly tense. Like, as they're getting through the airport, it's like, are they going to make it? I know they make it, but it's really, really tense.
You know how much I love an opening, and the opening in this one is kind of an information dump, but it's a necessary information dump.
Completely agree, yeah.
A lot of times that doesn't work. If it's just like, here's all the things you need to know before we start our film, sometimes it just doesn't work. For this one, it absolutely sets everything up so you know what the stakes are right away.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good choice that they made, rather than have dialogue back and forth between people to try to establish that. Just like, here it is, here's 90 seconds of information, and then we're going to get going.
Well, and in this movie, I think you really need it. There are very rare movies when you need it, and in this movie, you have to understand all the complexities of the situation.
Yep.
And I think they did a nice job. It was not too little and not too much.
The way the movie itself actually begins, not the information dump, but it's so incredibly well crafted and tense right out of the gate. And that tension, the foot's on the gas pedal for most of this movie for tension. It does release every once in a while just to give us a break.
Yeah.
But the consistent tension throughout and have it be necessary for the movie to work, I think is a very good directorial choice for this kind of movie. It just adds that extra thriller element, because a lot of the scenes themselves are not super tense.
Exactly, yeah.
But the overall tension does seep into those smaller moments, so you're still like kind of, you're moving forward in your seat, even if it's just two people talking.
The other thing is it's so layered. It could be very complicated, and it's not. You've got the story of what's going on in Hollywood and the studio and the people involved in that.
Yep.
You've got the CIA as well as the White House, which is actually kind of two different tensions that are happening.
Yep.
You've got the Canadian embassy and all of the interpersonal stuff that's happening there, and then you've got the politics of Iran.
Yes.
So you have a lot that's going on, a lot of different players, and I understood everybody, who they were and their motivation. production with very little to go on.
Yeah, and I think the amount of time spent on each and kind of parsing it out through to help build the story was
Yeah.
the right amount. They didn't spend a ton of time on the internal politics of Iran. They spent just enough for you to get that and to help build the tension. The amount of time spent on everything, I think, was a really well done choice.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit too about the setting? Because I
Sure.
think the production design, the makeup, the hairstyles, I kind of knew what Ben Affleck smelled like because of between the cigarette and the stale beer and the leather and the whatever shampoo he's wearing from the 70s, and it just you had a very 70s sensibility in this
Sure.
movie, and everything added up to that.
And it's weird to think that, I mean, because of our age, that the 70s is actually like
Super historical.
well, no, but like it's a historical drama.
It is, yeah.
And that's weird.
It is very weird, but again, just the things of the long corded telephones and everything.
Yes.
It's in harvest gold, and yeah. So it is very weird to think about that because I have memories of the Iranian hostages. I remember every night with my parents watching the news,
Yep.
and
Me
it
too.
was day blah 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 of the Iranian hostages being taken. I remember the yellow ribbons they had tied around the trees around here in Westbrook. So
Can we talk about the plan itself?
sure.
Because if it wasn't true, you would just think this was completely made up.
It batshit if it's not true. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that it was a concept that they were able to pull off. That as a plan is just amazing to me. I also like, however, how they introduced doubt into the plan
Yes.
by the people that are going to be going through this. And I like the way they handled that, both the introduction of doubt, which was, I'm sure, a genuine
Fair.
concern, but also the way they handled it, which wasn't just like, well, you only got, this is your only choice. This is, I mean, that was the message, but the way it was done was not like superhero action-y style, like just come with me if you want to
Yes.
live. You know?
Very true.
It was very well laid out, like these are the options, this is our best for you, and this is why we're doing this. It's the best option we have.
But there was that moment too where trust was a little bit earned when Tony finally gave them his real name.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, here's my name. Like, I am giving you something that, could hurt me. So I have to trust you as much as you need to trust me in this. And yeah, it was a absolutely crazy plan, but it's just so crazy it had to work.
Yep. So let's talk about the performances.
Okay.
I think Ben was fine. This is one of his better roles,
Absolutely.
I think.
Yeah.
This is like town level. Like,
Yep.
he did fine. But you have John Goodman and Alan Arkin. And Alan Arkin and he's amazing in anything.
Yeah.
But this role seems like it was written for him.
So you didn't say it, but I'm assuming it was his role that was the best supporting actor.
Yes, sorry,
nomination.
yes,
No, yeah, but I assumed it was him because he was so fantastic in it, and he's coming off his win on Little Miss Sunshine.
Yep.
Yes, I'm sure that it was written right for him. But even all of the little tiny roles were incredibly well performed.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Tate Donovan, you've got. Victor, the I forget his name, for the ambassador. Everybody we didn't spend a lot of time with. Bryan Cranston did a great job in their role, but you're right, there was something special about the Hollywood aspect. And Alan Arkin there's something special about him and anyway.
And it was just so much fun to watch John Goodman and Alan Arkin just kind of
Yes.
play off each other.
Yep.
Like, it was lighthearted but super serious at the same time. Like, they know what they're doing, but they're still kind of making fun of everything.
Or go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I loved that. Have you ever seen the movie The In-Laws with Peter Falk and
Yes.
Alan Arkin?
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite old-time comedies. That it's just, and most of it is because Alan Arkin is the straight man
Yeah.
through it all, and he's amazing.
So I do wonder, like, I don't have a lot of negatives for this film, but I do wonder sometimes at the accuracy and how much was invented. You talked about the whole scene when they're like on the plane,
Yeah.
and getting them through the plane and getting them through there. It had to have been invented, the discovery at the same moment to make it that tense. And I didn't really buy that. It works for the film for sure.
Yes.
But when you see it the second time and you know it, it becomes so much more obvious. Like, this is manufactured tension.
And it is, and Ben Affleck has said that it was, that he basically consolidated, that all of these kind of things happened. They were piecing together the pictures. They did identify, oh, there are people missing from who we have as captured. But all of that happened in a very long time and not right as they were leaving. So, yes, you're absolutely right. There was not this rush to the airport and all of that kind of stuff. Oh, another fun fact I forgot to share was as they were at the airport, driving on the bus to the plane, many of the extras that were on the bus were Tony's family members in real life.
Tony.
Oh, isn't that, what's his name? Not Tony. Who is the guy that Ben Affleck played that did this?
Oh, I don't remember.
Yes, but
it might be Tony, I can't remember.
Yes, so that guy.
Oh, okay. That's kind of cool.
I feel really bad that I forgot his name. But, yes, but it was his real life family members.
So that would be the only real criticism upon a rewatch of it, is that it becomes blaringly obvious that this is manufactured tension. So it does kind of, it did take me out because I could just feel this was manufactured.
We've had to do this before, where you're looking at the movie as a piece of art separate from the historical time. I think we did this most famously in Blind Side. Is like, okay, this is a fun story and movie, and we've got to put aside the fact that this has no relevance to real life. This one has much more relevance to real life, but I think you're right. I think that piece, and the only other thing I would say is it really does have the Iranians as a little bit one-note villains.
Yes.
And I do think that, there is more to their story. I mean, like, obviously I'm anti-hostage taking. I'm going to put that out there. But I do think that there's probably, I know, exactly, probably more to the story that, that we as Americans maybe don't hear.
Yeah, and I'm sure. And, again, for the film, if you had dived too much into that to give more political motivation or why they were doing this and trying to hunt them down, I think the film would have dragged a lot more.
Yep.
It would have the film would have suffered by doing that. So I agree with you that they are a little bit one note, but for the film, I think it works.
Exactly. Everything we're coming up with as a negative worked for the film.
Correct.
It's just a little behind the scenes.
Yep.
Less magic than you would expect. But yeah, I agree with you and just want to highlight what you were saying about Alan Arkin too. Going back to him and John Goodman. Amazing.
So I love this. I have nothing else to say.
Super fun night at the movies.
Right, moving on to Amour, written and directed by Michael Haneke, starring Jean-Louis, and I'm going to butcher this, but do you speak French? Can you pronounce?
Trintignant?
Sure, we'll go with that. Emmanuel Riva and Isabelle Huppert, nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actors, Original Screenplay, Best Foreign Language Film. And is often the case, it did not win for Best Picture, but it did win for Best Foreign Language Film. Go with some stuff.
All right, so the summary is George and Anne are an octogenarian couple. They are cultivated, retired music teachers. Their daughter, also a musician, lives in Britain with her family. One day, Anne has a stroke, and the couple's bond of love is severely tested.
It's accurate.
It's pretty accurate, yep. So this is loosely based on the personal experience of the director, whose aunt suffered a degenerative disease, and he saw what that did to her and her family. So a little piece of that. Fun, not fun fact is, so in the suffocation scene, there was actually a trick mattress that they had, because she was actually really afraid of doing this, and he was really afraid of hurting her. Because she was 85. I mean, so there was a trick mattress where what she was laying on, basically, as the weight of him came on top of it, she dropped down. So he was on a kind of different platform, and the director had to go in and do it first to show her how it worked before she would agree to do it, because she was really scared.
That makes total sense.
I'm terrified. And then the other piece, which I found interesting, and I really want to talk about how this plays for the movie, the constant piece of direction that the director kept giving them was to avoid sentimentality. That this is not about sentimentality, which I find really interesting.
Me too.
I'm going to start this one, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Which is, I found this breathtakingly heartbreaking. It was just, when you're talking about that sentimentality, there was so much love and emotion and devotion, but it was not a sentimental movie. It was, things need to happen. This is the way we are living our lives. Just even the conversation that the father has with the daughter of, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And he says something to her saying, basically something to the effect of, I assume you know that I love your mother as much as you do, and so that I'm not doing anything, basically the understanding is I'm not doing anything to hurt her. But it was two people in the end of their lives living through a heartbreaking moment that is very realistic, and I just thought it was done beautifully, and then the end comes.
Yeah, we're
which
gonna talk about
really is a shocker and a surprise moment that, because through the whole thing, I was kind of, I don't know about your feeling, I have never seen it before, so I was watching it, and I have a lot of, kind of personal relationship to it as well, and watching it, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, whoa, what happened here? And I have mixed feelings about that.
Yeah,
So,
we'll get there, because
Alright,
that's
so-
one of the things I do want to talk about.
But overall, I think it was beautifully done.
Yeah,
So, hit it.
my note is this is a lovely, quiet little film all about love. Because I really do think the title is so fitting.
It's perfect.
It
Yeah.
is about, it's primarily about his love for her, because
Yes.
she very quickly stops speaking, and while she's acting, and you can tell even in the beginning as her disease is coming on that she absolutely does love him.
Yes.
But but the story is more just by necessity more about his love for her.
Yes.
And the way that they were able to put all of that together, I thought was amazing. It is just a beautiful little story about love.
I agree. I disagree with something you said, which is very early she stopped speaking, because there was a period when she had the stroke, but she was very vocal and still quite mobile.
Yeah.
And during that time, she told him that she wanted to die and she wanted him to end her life.
That's true.
And so I think that's how she showed the love for him, was she did not want to put him through the indignities of having to do for her what she needed.
No, you're right, and I will absolutely accept that correction, no problem. One of the things I did like is, even though they're going through this horrible thing, they're still a married couple.
Yeah.
Like, he gets frustrated with her by her trying to do things, and she's still trying to maintain her own sense of independence, but she can't. But he gets frustrated. She gets mad at him.
Yep.
She throws little hissy fits every once in a while.
Yep.
Like, they're still, even though they're going through this and they love each other, they're still a married couple.
Exactly. There are real frustrations between the two of them that come out in a lot of different ways. And you're right, it's not just all love. Like, love is expressed in many different ways.
There were some odd filming choices in this. The ending we'll get to, but one of the easiest examples is very early on in the movie, having the camera be focused on the audience while the son comes on stage and sit there. It's not just like a quick pan for a couple seconds.
Yeah.
You sit there while he comes on and everybody claps. And it was such an odd choice. And there were a couple moments like that throughout. They just seemed like odd filming choices.
Yeah.
And they didn't take me out, but I don't know if they enhanced the film. Maybe it was just the director's like, I have this cool idea, let's see if it works. I don't know.
Okay, so I had that exact same shot noted in my notes, and it worked for me, and I'll tell you why, is because while it's the first shot in the movie, pretty much, there's a prelude, and then the when we're with this couple, we haven't met the couple yet. This is our first introduction to the couple. We don't really know who they are if we're coming into the theater kind of cold, and yet you know who they are for some reason. And that's the thing that amazes me, is in that shot, in the audience, I know that older couple in the lower left-hand side are the people I can't keep my eyes off. And yet they're not center stage. There's lots of action and activity. There's lots of couples I could see, but I'm riveted with this couple, and I don't know why. And I thought that was masterful.
It took me, because that shot is a long shot.
Yes.
We stay in that audience for a long period of time. And eventually I was able to find them, but because it was there so long, I was looking like they have to be in the center. No, they're not in the center. There's a kind of older couple that's up there, but that's not them. So and I wonder if maybe that was the point, is you sat with it so long so you could eventually find the couple.
Yeah.
And then once enough time had been so everybody could find them, then they move on to the next season. I wonder if that was why.
I don't know, but you're right. It was very interesting because, again, that was them in a sea of people.
Yep.
And then every other shot pretty much in the movie is the two of them in their apartment, and you see nothing beyond the apartment walls.
There's lots of eating in this movie. There's
Yes.
lots of like breakfast, dinner. They're just sitting there eating, having
And
conversations.
I love the French way of eating too because they had like beautiful little composed meals, you know? It was just gorgeous.
One of the things I did like about the film, and overall I did enjoy this film, but I'm not like a super fan.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I think it does so well, talking about the scene with the father, and I mean because that's his daughter, but the son is from the prior marriage.
No, that's not their son. It's a student of theirs.
Oh,
So it's because he talks about them teaching him, and so it's a student of theirs
Okay,
that just came that held a concert and gave them tickets, and then comes back to visit because they were so formative in his early
Okay.
music life, and then he went on to be a world-renowned musician.
But my point is the film forces you, and it doesn't pass judgment. It does not tell you what to do, but it does force you to address very real questions that would happen in this situation. What do you do? Do you put her in assisted care and she's going to live out the rest of her life around strangers?
Yep.
Is it better for her to be here? Does she get the same amount of care? Like all of these questions that you would ask. Do we end her life? Those kind of things. The film, there's discussions, but then there's no judgment of this is the way to do it.
Exactly. It is the way he has chosen to do it. You know that the daughter clearly doesn't think that that's the right decision, but she also does not force him to make a different decision. I think she'd like to persuade him to do something different. But you're absolutely right. It is this and it's kind of this couple against the world. It seems like that's how they have always lived.
Yeah.
Because the daughter seems to have her own relationship with her philandering husband and her son who's off in boarding school. So it's like it seems to be these two with their neighbors / caretakers of the house downstairs.
Yep. So the actual killing of her,
Yes.
heartbreaking, incredibly well done, particularly for him, because you can see I love that it was this beautiful moment before where he's quieting her, telling her a story, which we've seen him do many times before.
Yep.
And then boom, it switches, and he's like, I don't know. I couldn't tell from the performance if it was premeditated.
I couldn't either.
Or
And that
if
was
it
going to
was-
be my question to you: is what do you think? Do you think it was premeditated?
I don't think it was premeditated. I think he'd been thinking about it for a long time, and this was an opportunity that I think he just
Yes. Yep. And I think he did it in love.
Yes,
You know,
100%.
you look at the way he left her body with the flowers, and clearly it was done from love. So here's my second question. My first question was it premeditated? My second question is, what happened to him?
That's a very good question, and that's something that I'm not entirely sure. Because the opening, they break into the house because the nurse hadn't been around, they hadn't seen them, so, literally the police and fire folks break into the house, discover her body. The taping of the thing, I didn't really
smell.
understand. Oh, that would make so much. Okay, all right, thanks.
He wanted to keep out the smell.
Yep. But he's not around,
Right.
and then you cut to the main part of the movie, and then when you get to the end, which we can talk about,
Yep.
you just see him walk out the door.
With her.
Yes.
In her perfectly healthy form.
So my question was, I don't think that was real. I think that, and I don't necessarily think it was a psychotic break. I think it's just something in his head that he had manufactured and just went with. So he's out there wandering the streets. I don't know.
Or is he dead and he's gone off with her?
That could be, but there was nothing
None of
between
him. Yeah.
the once the killing is done, the next thing you see him come in with the flowers that we saw at the very beginning, and he's cutting those, and then we have this end. So there's no indication that he had done anything, that he had died. So I don't know. I don't know.
So my theory is, and this could be all crap, but so yes, they had to break in the room that she was in,
Yeah.
and she had flowers all. So clearly she was beautifully taken care of,
Yeah.
in the right dress with the flowers around her. The interior door to the bedroom was taped shut, and the window was open.
Yeah.
And there was the whole thing about the stupid pigeon, which I didn't really get the pigeon. I think he jumped to his death, and
then
that's what led them to come in.
Oh, okay. because that's not mentioned.
In any way, yeah. And,
Uh,
and this is just like wild Laura theory. I don't know that that's true or not.
I
He
don't.
might have just wandered away.
I don't think so, because when they're talking to the neighbors say, we haven't seen them for a while.
Oh,
we
you're
haven't
right.
seen the nurse.
You're right, it can't be that then.
And if he had fallen outside, that
They
would.
would have, yes. Nope, you're
So I don't
absolutely right.
know. I think it's supposed to be I think the audience is supposed to kind of make up their own thing,
Yeah.
that he has gone off. He might be dead and going with her. He might have just been starting to get delusional in his own head and just started wandering the streets. I
Yeah.
don't know, but it is an odd choice.
It's an odd choice. I would like, this is one of those ones, I go back and forth. I really would like to know a little bit more about what happened to him at the end, and I think that would have
Some
been helpful.
hint or indication would have been good.
Because from the end where the daughter is alone in the apartment,
Yeah.
he's gone.
Yeah.
Like, he is just absolutely, clearly not there physically. But why and how?
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. So yeah, the end was weird. I don't know what to make of it, and I don't know if it actually enhances the film or detracts from it. But here we are talking about it at length.
Exactly. I think it was something that he intended for us not to know, but I want to know.
All right,
Can I give you a super hot take?
sure.
Here's my super hot take. The fact that Emmanuelle Riva lost Best Actress to Jennifer Lawrence in Silver Linings Playbook in this year is a travesty that is up there with Saving Private Ryan.
Ooh.
I'm throwing it down. I think that her performance in this was brilliant. You could see that she was an actress that really had no mobility issues whatsoever, and she performed like 3 different levels of stroke.
Yeah.
First, just the absence, and then a little paralysis, and then full degenerative stroke.
Yep.
And herself as a healthy person. I thought her performance was amazing.
Okay. Let's come back to that.
Okay.
Because it's been a long time since I've seen Silver Linings.
Okay.
So I'll have to see that performance again before I can say I agree with you.
Yep.
But I do agree with you in that her performance was just outstanding.
It was outstanding.
Yep.
Yeah.
This was
Yep.
a surprising little movie for me.
Mhm.
I don't think it's one that I would revisit unless, someone had said, hey, I heard of this, do you want to watch it? Like if I was dating someone or something.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would go back to this on my own, but I am very glad to have spent the time.
Be careful, because if you are dating somebody and they want to watch this movie, that's a commitment that you are making of. So this is what I expect, Darryl. I loved it, but it was heartbreaking. I will never watch it again.
Okay. Move on to Django Unchained.
All right.
Written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, produced by Tarantino's A Band Apart and Columbia Pictures, stars Jamie Foxx, Christopher Waltz, Leonardo DiCaprio, Kerry Washington, Samuel L. Jackson, Walton Goggins, Dennis Christopher, James Remar, Michael Parks, and Don Johnson. Nominated for Picture, Supporting Actor for Waltz, Screenplay, Cinematography, Sound Editing. Waltz did win Best Supporting, and Quentin won Original Screenplay. Go some stuff.
All right. With the help of a German bounty hunter, a freed slave sets out to rescue his wife from a brutal plantation owner in Mississippi. I think that's it right there. So one fun fact is I'm going to add to the list of names that you just read out, which is quite a list of people. Tom Wopat, who plays Luke Duke.
Oh!
Hazard, because the minute I
Yeah.
saw him coming on, my little 11-year-old self was like, "That's Luke Duke."
Yeah. Okay.
I like Tarantino's way of reaching back into pop culture history and pulling out people.
He's very famous
He's
for
very
doing
good
that.
at that, yeah. And again, we recognize all of those people, and there were 10 more probably we
Yep.
didn't even name.
The 2 people at the very end where Django says, when he's chained up and
Yeah.
he basically convinces them that they're both like famous 70s actors.
Yes, yep, exactly. So that's one fun fact. And then another fun fact is at one point in the filming, Leonardo DiCaprio had to stop the scene because he was having such a hard time saying all the racial slurs that were that he had to say. And I appreciated that because as a viewer, I was having a hard time hearing all of the racial slurs. So that made me, I'm not always on the Leo bandwagon. I think he did a great job in this movie. And I like him a little bit for how hard it must have been. So
Yeah, I saw an interview with Jamie Foxx where he talked about that and that he and Leo had kind of become friends during that, and Leo would approach him like, "Dude, I'm just struggling here," and he's like, "You're just acting.
Yeah.
This is not
This
real.
is not you."
You're just acting."
Yeah.
And so we kind of helped talk him through that, which I thought was cool.
I do too.
I have 2 fun facts for you.
Oh, bring it.
One, the scene at the table where Leo cuts his hand.
Yes.
He actually really did cut his hand.
I wondered that because it looked very realistic.
And if you, during that scene, he cuts his hand, he kind of looks down and sees it, and as he's talking, they didn't yell cut or anything. He pulls out pieces of glass, because when he smashed down the glass, he's literally pulling glass out of his hand as he's bleeding.
He's an actor,
Once they got through everything and they yelled cut, everybody at the table started clapping.
Oh, bet.
I can't remember what my second one was,
I know.
but I'll remember.
It'll come along.
All right. I'm going to start out with the obvious. This one, I think this is a fantastically directed movie. I do enjoy the story of the movie. It is incredibly bloody, probably his bloodiest movie he's ever done. Like over the top gore.
And it's cartoony blood too, a lot of the places. Yeah.
And that bothers some people. I'm fine with it. The consistent use of the word over and over again. It is hard initially to get through that.
Yeah.
I know this is white people issues, whatever, but it is hard to get through that. But it becomes at some point for me now on the rewatch. Did you ever see the South Park episode where they said fuck 218 times?
No, but I love that, yeah.
And the point was that once you hear words so much, it just becomes background noise.
Right.
And that's what happens in this movie for me, is that it just becomes background after a point.
And I agree with you, and that bothered me almost more, that it became background noise, that it loses its shock value after a certain point. Because, again, white people saying these things, but I'm not one to censor racial slurs. Like Mark Twain, you've got to have those words in there to show the time. You've got to show what people were doing and what people were saying. But after a certain point, if it loses its shock, doesn't it also lose its value a little bit in teaching us that lesson?
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
But that is what happens.
It totally does. I agree, and that bothered me a little bit.
I just want to talk about one scene in particular, because there's always usually just a scene that is situationally so wrong and so funny in almost all of his movies.
Okay.
This one was the one when the clan is going on the raid, but before they go to try to beat him up, they're all just having this conversation about the bags and the eye holes.
Yes.
Like, okay, yes, we agree that it was a good effort, but can we also agree that it was not done properly?
But my wife tried really hard. Yeah. Come on.
That is just such a Quentin Tarantino thing to do.
Yes, that was a very funny scene, and I liked that. And there were a couple of points, I can't think of another one right now, but there were a couple of points where it was really funny, and you had to find the joy and the amusement in it. Mm-hmm.
Overall, I don't really have a lot to say. I think this is incredibly well done. Christopher Waltz is Christopher Waltz. He's kind of a little bit, it's a similar performance to what he did in Inglourious Bastards. Different character, but you could see his acting style. He's not as versatile as you expected him to be.
It's fun to see him as a good guy, though. So this may be the first time I've ever seen him as a good guy in a movie.
Okay.
And I liked that, because yes, you're right, he's playing it generally the same way, but his motivation is turned.
I remember my second fun fact.
Oh.
At this point, Samuel L. Jackson and Quentin are really good friends.
Yeah.
And this is Samuel telling this story. He's like, I got a phone call one day from Quentin, and he's like, hey, I wrote a movie. I need you to play one of the principal parts. And he's like, sure, absolutely. What's it going to be? And he described it. And so then Samuel says, so you want me to play one of the most hated black men in all of history? Quentin's like, yeah. He's like, all right.
All right, do it for Quentin. Yep.
So that was my second fun fact.
I like that. That is a fun fact.
So yeah, I don't have a lot to say about this.
I'm generally a Tarantino fan, and I like the
more
stuff
so
that he
than
does.
me,
I think so, because I really love Inglourious Bastards. I really love Pulp Fiction. I didn't really love this movie, and this is my first watch. This is one that I've been avoiding because of the subject matter.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought, did I see it? I'm like, no, I definitely did not see this. I would remember this. For some reason, I see this as a lesser Tarantino movie. It still has its fantastic, again, the writing, the performances, those funny scenes, and I do want to get to some of the performances were fantastic. But this one I think was Quentin Tarantino's ego getting in the way a little bit of the movie, because you figure a lot of his movies are, I'm going to blow up Hitler.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill Charles Manson. I'm going to end slavery. You know, like and it seemed to be, I don't know, it just seemed more ego than it was great in the execution, and I can't really put my finger on it, but it was a little bit of a mess of, you know, we're going to go over here and do this, we're going to go here and do that, going to go over there and do that. It was not tied together as well as I would want it to be.
He's said this multiple times, being such a fan of the westerns.
He loves the spaghetti western,
Yeah.
and I liked that sensibility of the movie.
So this was his attempt, and of course, because it's Quentin doing it, he had to then take it a step further and then another step further.
Yeah.
So the hero of the story is a black man in Western times, which that wasn't done.
Yep.
Going through this thing with all of the things that are surrounded. So to me, I don't mind the story.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good exploration of what, and I can see it in Quentin just trying to do something. I like this one better than I like Inglourious Basterds.
Interesting. Okay.
That one I would put a little bit lower for me, but
Okay. Yeah, for me, it just didn't tie. It just kind of went from situation to situation without tying it together in as cohesive a way as I've seen him do it.
yeah, it was definitely parted out. Like
Yeah.
you get the opening, which is a great opening.
Oh God, yeah.
You get them forming up and learning how to become a bounty hunter, well, or marshal, or whatever the official title that they had. And then you get the first plantation, and then you get the big plantation at the end, Candyland, and then you get we caught you, and then now let's go back for revenge.
Yeah.
So it is definitely parted out, so I can see that.
I would say the performances, first of all, I'm a huge Jamie Foxx fan anyway, and I think he was masterful at this. As far as, you know, all of the different emotions he had to play over the course of it, which I loved. He had such a good range. I'm not always a huge Leo fan, and I thought he did great in this movie.
Yep.
Christoph Waltz we talked about. Kerry Washington did not have a ton to do, and yet she's one of my favorite actresses that's out there now. And she didn't have a ton to do, but she definitely chewed on it when she had an opportunity, which was fun to see.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when they were talking at one point. It was one the guys were talking about bad things that were gonna happen. You could just see her face light up. You know, at the thought of these bad guys getting their due.
Samuel L. Jackson for me.
Oh, he was amazing.
I love him in like 90% of the movies he's put up, because he's kind of a movie slut. He'll do anything.
Yes, he has said that.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's why I feel comfortable saying
exactly. No, he's definitely said that.
that. So, you know, some of his movies are trash, but most of them are really good. And it's every once in a while you can see that he's really into and enjoying a performance.
Yes.
And you can see that he was really into and enjoying this performance.
Yeah.
Not what he had to do in things, but he really it just seems like he embodied that character so incredibly well. And let's be honest, if that character isn't that character, this movie doesn't work as well.
You need that character.
Yeah.
And Tarantino does introduce all of the tropes that you would expect to see in, you know, Southern, you know, end of slavery times, and does it in the sense of a Western. I love the idea. It's incredibly clever, and he is, you know, one of the more clever, filmmakers out there. But it just, for me, didn't come together in the way I wanted it to. And honestly, maybe it could be just a little bit, it was hard to watch.
Sure.
And so that may be, I just may have a prejudice against, I didn't love it because of that.
My note, which agrees with yours, is this was an incredibly well done movie. It's just hard to sit through.
It is really hard to sit through. Exactly.
All right, I'm good with this if you are.
I am.
Let's move on to Les Miserables, directed by Tom Hooper from a screenplay by William Nicholson, Alan Bubel, Claude Miguel Schoenberg, and Herbert Kretzmer, so a lot of people involved in the adaptation. It's based on the stage musical of the same name by Schoenberg, Bubel, and Jean-Marc Nattel, which in turn is based on the 1862 novel Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. It stars Hugh Jackman, Russell Crowe, Anne Hathaway, Eddie Redmayne, Amanda Seyfried, Helena Bonham Carter, Sacha Baron Cohen, Samantha Barks, Aaron Tveit, Tveit, and Daniel Huddlestone. Go with some stuff.
All right, so the logline IMDb is, in 19th century France, Jean Valjean, who for decades has been hunted by the ruthless policeman Javert after breaking parole, agrees to care for a factory worker's daughter. The decision changes their lives forever.
Okay.
You know, it skips like 75 plot points, but it has to. So, yes. So a couple of fun facts, and again, this is pretty famously known, is most musicals are lip-synced. They're pre-recorded and lip-synced on set. This was one of the only and certainly the most complicated movie that ever did. Every song was played live to set.
Wow.
Except for the first one, Look Down, because of the huge set pieces and
Okay.
the music was the river and the water noises were too loud, so they couldn't do it for set. But everything else was sung on set.
Okay.
And then the other interesting piece was Hannah Waddington from Ted Lasso, who's
Yep.
incredibly famous now, was one of the factory girls that
Oh, really?
called out Fantine for having a child. I had to go back and watch it because I didn't see it, and you would not know it. She's got brown hair. She's, you know, all dressed up as a factory worker. It took me a minute to find her. So I was very excited to see her because I love her. And then the only other thing is a couple of, you know, casting maybes. Emma Watson was up for the role of Cosette, and Scarlett Johansson, Lea Michele, and a host of others, including Taylor Swift, were up for Eponine.
So, I was going to give you, in case you didn't do
Yep.
it, my fascinating fact. Taylor Swift was up for the role. She actually, she tells the story, very famous on the, oh my God, the English talk show.
Oh, Graham Norton.
Yes.
Okay.
So, on one evening, both she and Eddie Redmayne were on promoting something.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh, I've seen this. Yes. Yeah.
so she tells the story of, yes, she was brought in but she was in full makeup and they did like the teeth, they did everything. So she was just looking absolutely horrible. And Eddie came in and he was wearing like a tracksuit.
Yeah.
But they did the performance because he was already cast. They did the performance and she very famously was like, I'd always wanted to meet him. I had a slight crush on him. And here I am looking like this. And he could not have been sweeter and nicer. And I was
that's
like,
good to hear.
That's lovely.
Okay.
Obviously didn't get the role though.
Exactly. The woman who did play Eponine was playing her on the West End at
Oh,
the
okay.
time, so they brought her in it was her first film. She was a theater actress.
I didn't go through the nominated stuff, so let me do that real quick.
Okay.
Nominated for Best Picture, of course, Best Actor, Best Costume Design, Makeup and Hairstyling, Original Song, Best Picture, Best Production Design, Supporting Actress, Sound Mixing. Sound Mixing, it won for, and Hathaway won it, and it also won for Best Makeup and Hairstyling. So there you go.
All right. Fair enough.
I'm just gonna come out heavy with this.
Okay.
I do not like this movie.
All right.
I do not. And there's really only one reason why. And it's not that I, in general, have a dislike of musicals. I don't, in general, have a dislike of musicals. What I don't like is when every single line in a musical is sung, and it's sung in just a literal sing-songy kind of way.
Yes.
Like, the dialogue, rather than just speak
She's
the dialogue.
over there.
Right, I'm gonna sit in this chair now and tell you how I feel about this chair now. Like, everything is that sing-songy. So, I mean, there are songs in this.
Yes.
But everything in between is sing-songy, so everybody ends up sounding the same.
It's called a sung-through musical. There's a term for it. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
There are no spoken words.
Yeah, and like unlike Hamilton, where there are those moments, but those moments are a little bit less and few far between, and it's built all around these big numbers that take you all the way through. This one, it just screamed, just have the dialogue, and then you can break into your song number, and it took me out every time.
Yeah.
I don't like that, or I didn't like it for this film.
All right. Fair enough. It is very consistent with the musical.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's pretty much note for note. There's a few odd changes that we will get to, but for the most part, that's the way the performance is in the musical. So, Les Miserables is one of my favorite musicals. I love the music. I love the songs. There was probably a 5-year stretch in the early aughts when, if you were driving around town and I had my windows down, I was playing it very loudly. I do not love this movie either. I want to love it so much more than I do, and I think there were choices made.
Yes.
So I actually tried to figure out why is that. So I understand and agree with the reason you don't like it. I think there are two key flaws to this movie, and they were because of choices that the director made.
Okay.
So one of them is he chose actors who sang instead of singers who could act.
Right.
So the singing was not as good as it could have been, should have been, all of those things. So Colm Wilkinson, who originated the role on the West End and in Broadway, played the bishop in this movie.
Okay.
And so just even when you have, so Jean Valjean is his role. When you have him in the very beginning and of course at the very end singing to Hugh Jackman, the richness, the depth of his voice,
Sure.
it sets you off on the wrong foot of, like this is a singer who knows this part and can do it beautifully. And then Hugh Jackman comes in with he's got a good voice. I'd pay to see him on Broadway, but it is very tinny and high and pitchy compared to everybody else. And I think that's the same for everyone, is Amanda Seyfried had this weird trilly little thing going on with her voice. Russell Crowe can't sing. I love Russell Crowe, I really do, but he can't sing. So I think that the choice of I thought Anne Hathaway did great. She did very well.
She surprised me.
She did beautifully. And obviously the woman who played Eponine truly was a singer that they had to act. So I think that's one choice that was bad. The other choice is, I don't think the director knew whether this was going to be a staged performance or an epic movie. Because
It did have a feel of both at times.
it did. And so starting at the beginning, it looks like it's going to be epic because you've got all of these men and they're trying to bring a ship into a berth, and it's like, okay, this is going to be a very big movie. And then you have scenes like the barricade where it looked like that was on a stage.
Yeah.
It was very small, and almost every scene is right up in the actor's face. Like the scene with Eponine when she's doing her On My Own solo, which is one of the mainstays of the play, it is following her around face to face. She's in this like pretty big set piece. It's raining, like the cobblestones, all of that, and all you see is her. And I just don't understand what he was going for. Is this a big movie or is it a small movie?
Okay. That makes
Yeah.
such sense to me.
And I've got one more example.
Oh, yeah,
and
keep
then,
going, please.
like the last example of this, which is I think the most egregious example, is the end of it, the barricade, where you see all the people who did not survive the barricade and they're in God's glory on the wall there, and it's this very large epic scene, and then you've got Hugh Jackman singing and Anne Hathaway singing. They might as well be on a green screen because you think, and they're supposed to be part of the crowd, you never see them on the wall, you never see them with those people. So it's like, okay, did they just do something down in a Hollywood studio and green screen it in? And maybe they did, maybe they weren't supposed to be there, but you never see them as part of the crowd shot. That's a huge miss to me.
I agree. My notes, and this is why I'm very glad you're saying the things you are. I honestly cannot tell you if this was a good movie or not.
I don't think it was a good movie. I really don't. I think that, again, choices they made from I loved this movie when I first saw it, when it first came out, because I just loved the music so much and
There was a bias,
story
right?
so much. There was a huge bias. Looking at it with a critical eye of, is this a good movie? I don't like the choices that were made. I don't like the actors that they had. The scene when Eponine dies, Eddie Redmayne looks like he's laughing. And he actually had a decent voice. He, I think, was one of the better singers. But if you look at that scene between the two of them, like his friend who saved his life is dying, and he's like smiling through it. Like, that's great if you're on a stage and there's somebody 30 feet away trying to read your face. But if there's somebody with a camera right there, you don't have to be that broad. So I don't think it's a great movie. It makes me sad.
Fair enough.
I want to love this so much.
I'm glad you felt the same way, because I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
The sing-songy for me even was able to take me out of being able to look at it as a film. That's why I say I don't know if this was good or bad. Like I couldn't tell. If they hadn't had that, I might have picked up on some of those things that you said as well. But I just couldn't. I couldn't even
Couldn't
get
get
there.
past it.
Yep.
One thing I gave Russell Crowe a little bit of a bad rap because he doesn't have a great singing voice, but you know what? He went for it.
Yeah,
And I actually
I think
do
all
give
of
him
them
props.
did.
Yeah.
And I don't have as big a problem with Hugh Jackman as you do. but I'm also not as familiar with a lot of musicals like you are. And I've seen Hugh, you know, in a bunch of movies now, do singing,
Yeah.
song and dance routines, and I've always been impressed that
Yes.
he can do that and then like be Wolverine, you know.
I agree. I think it actually hurt him. I was thrilled when I heard Cole Wilkinson was going to be in this movie because he is Jean Valjean for anybody who has loved this play, and so I loved that they were going to find a spot for him. But then actually it was a detriment because when you put him next to Hugh Jackman, it just shows kind of the lesser talents.
Yep.
And Hugh Jackman, still love him, but not in this role.
Fair enough.
All right, that is my rant. Rant over, and I'll be playing the CD in my car tonight.
Okay, excellent. Shall we move on to Lincoln?
Let's do it.
Lincoln, directed and produced by Steven Spielberg, screenplay by Tom Kushner, was loosely based on Doris Kearns Goodwin's 2005 biography, Team of Rivals, The Political Genius of Abraham Lincoln. Stars Daniel Day-Lewis, Sally Field, David Strathairn, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, James Spader, Hal Holbrook, Tommy Lee Jones, tons of other people, but they were like cameos throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Nominated for Best Picture, Director, Actor, Supporting Actor for Tommy Lee Jones, Supporting Actress for Sally Field, Adapted Screenplay, Cinematography, Costume Design, Film Editing, Original Score, Product Design, and Sound Mixing, and it won Daniel Day, his, I think, second Oscar at this point, right?
Second or third, yeah.
Okay.
My Left Foot. And then he won another one.
Was it In the Name of the Father?
I don't think so.
Did-
All right.
It doesn't matter.
I know, but it's going to bug me.
And then it also won for Best Production Design.
All right. So let me get back to, I was Googling, which I shouldn't have been doing. So I got to go back and get to my document up. Okay, so as the Civil War rages on, U.S. President Abraham Lincoln struggles with continuing carnage on the battlefield as he fights with many inside his own cabinet on his decision to emancipate the slaves.
Sure.
Makes sense. Couple of fun facts. Spielberg wanted Daniel Day-Lewis, who originally declined because he thought Lincoln was just too big a role for anyone to take on. So then they hired Liam Neeson, who had to drop out for some reason. And so Liam Neeson and Leonardo DiCaprio convinced Daniel Day-Lewis to take the role on again.
Wow.
So very interesting.
Yeah.
And then the interesting historical note is some historians started looking into the accuracies or inaccuracies of this
Yep.
movie, and what they discovered was due to a clerical error, Mississippi never formally ratified the 13th Amendment. And so as a result of this movie, they went back and they had to have it ratified through the Mississippi legislature.
Wow. Well, good for them for correcting that
And I'm just
mistake.
going to say to you, clerical error?
Yeah, probably.
Maybe.
All right.
All right, thoughts?
So, I didn't like this movie the first time.
Okay.
I didn't like it the second time.
Okay.
Every performance in this, except for Daniel Day, I have issues with.
Okay.
And that's pretty much, I mean, I could go and tell you some things that I did like, but this was the one that I was super dreading having to watch again. So I went in negatively, so
Okay.
that probably influenced me a little bit, but yeah, it did not change my mind. This is one of those movies that it's a singular performance that carries this film, and that's the only reason it was nominated. All the supporting were fine.
I think it was also nominated because of Steven Spielberg,
Yes.
not just the name. So first I have to say There Will Be Blood was his second
Ah,
best actor, which
gotcha.
we just did, so I totally forgot it. All right, so we were talking about this before we rewatched, and I
Yep.
said to you something like, oh, I really liked it the first time around. And so just like Baby's dad in Dirty Dancing, when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. It was so dull.
Yeah.
It was so dull. His performance was amazing. He embodied the president. That was fantastic. I didn't have a ton of problems with the sideline performances. My problem was that there was no tethering line to bring it all together. It was these guys go and talk to Lincoln, and then action happens. And then something else happens, and Lincoln says something stirring or biblical or really smart, and then action happens. And it was all kinds of spokes heading out of Lincoln, and nothing tied the movie together.
Yeah, it gives you hints of a lot of things.
Yes.
The true story of this is the politics of trying to get oh my God, why am I blanking?
Emancipation Proclamation.
Right, but
No, I'm sorry.
the 13th?
13th Amendment,
Okay.
yeah.
Getting that ratified, getting
Yes.
that passed. And that's the true story of what this is all about. And then the movie takes on the fact that there's civil war going on,
Yeah.
and there's these other issues that he's having. There are infighting party politics. Like, it just takes on too much as opposed to being singularly focused to tell the tale. We didn't need scenes with Lincoln talking to the soldiers and learning about them being stuck in the mud, or like, those scenes are unnecessary.
Agreed.
They're great performance by
Sure.
Daniel, but they're unnecessary.
Yeah.
This should have been more of like almost like a courtroom drama, and I think it would have been a much better film if they had done it in that style. People in rooms talking, trying to work stuff out.
I agree with you. And at the end of watching this, the answer may be I'm just dumb, because I really felt very dumb in this movie, because I'm like, okay, these guys are pro-slavery. Okay, I get that, Southern farmers, whatever. These guys are anti-slavery, but these guys are anti-slavery because they just want the war to end. They really don't care about slaves. These people are anti-slavery because they believe that slavery is bad. Okay, so now which one was Tommy Lee Jones and which one was this guy? And they didn't give us enough of every person's, like, if you're going to have all of them have different motivations, I need to be able to keep in my head who everybody is and what their motivations are, because you're then going to bring them back together in a room to fight, and I don't remember who's on what side for what reason. And again, it could be that I was just dumb, but I thought it was far too complicated on ending slavery could be as complicated or as not complicated as you want to make it. And this movie made it far too complicated in 3.5 hours, they could have done a lot more work.
Yeah, there were, we know the stakes and
Of course,
what was happening, but the movie didn't give you those stakes.
Exactly.
And that's an unfortunate thing. Like, we get a wonderfully powerful speech when Lincoln's frustrated with trying to get this through, and nobody's really understanding the why of why this needs to go through. Great speech, but that's all that we get for the motivation of this.
Yeah.
And the rest of it was just watered down politics, and I didn't like it.
I completely agree with you. It was complex in places it didn't need to be, and then it didn't give me enough to go on when I needed it.
The movie also should have ended before his assassination. We didn't need that part.
Although yes, maybe no, I don't know, but they didn't show Ford's Theater, which I was very grateful for. The fact that they knew that he was dying, or that he had been shot, and then you went to his bedside, I was okay with that. We've seen so many scenes in so many movies of Ford's Theater that I did not need that. I was glad about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like we've talked about, it just tried to take on and stick too much in.
Yeah.
So it all became muddled, and that's just something that I think very easily could have been taken out. No problem. Save yourself 5 minutes.
So you had concerns with Sally Field,
Yeah.
and I liked Sally Field in this. So
I didn't.
Let's
I
find out.
don't dislike her. I just a lot of people were lauding her performance, and I didn't see it. And I love Sally Field, but I did not see it in this performance. It came across as it wasn't stale or flat. It was. I don't know. I don't know. I just didn't like it.
I think Mary was a little on the crazy shrill side, and I thought she captured that. So I think that was fairly historically accurate. I mean, she ended up in a madhouse that the son ended up putting her into. So I feel like she did a nice job of that, and I did like that you finally got to see a little bit of anger from Lincoln at one point. Like, you saw him so calm throughout most of it, and then he really fought with his wife.
Yep.
And I kind of liked the way they played off each other. So again, if Mary Todd Lincoln was not in this movie, it still would have been a fine movie. Or it would have been a better movie, probably, because it would have been one less storyline of them and their family unit. But because they had her in it, I thought Sally Field did a good job.
So, you know how when we talked about The Rip, and you had said, watching Ben and Matt on screen together, it's so apparent who the better actor is?
Yeah.
When they had the scenes between, and there were a lot of this, most of her scenes were with him, you can forget that it's Daniel Day-Lewis, and you really believe that it's Lincoln. Never once did I ever not say, that's Sally Field.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I can see that. The only other last thing I will say, and you're welcome to cut this out if you don't like me saying it, is his second inaugural speech, which was with malice toward none and charity for all. Fuck that. We should have malice towards all of those people and charity for none of them.
Okay.
But that's just me. And you're welcome to cut that out if you don't want that on the...
No, I will happily leave that in. I'm not going to censor your feelings.
Thank you very much.
I may disagree occasionally with them,
Yep.
and we definitely
Fight
talk
it
about
out.
that.
Exactly.
But no,
But for the world at large may not like that is my current feelings.
absolutely. Yeah, so didn't like the first time, didn't like the second time. Honestly, don't even think it should have been nominated.
Yeah, I think it's up there with Warhorse and have the Spielberg spot.
All right. So out of these, I personally would only push one forward.
We would both push Argo forward.
Correct.
I would also push Amour forward because I do think it was a beautiful small film, and the reason they have 10 pictures now is to get some of those smaller films.
Yes, I
So
understand.
I think that was a beautiful film, as horribly difficult as it was to watch.
All right, so we'll move Argo and Amour forwards, and next time we will determine the winner.
All right, sounds good.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Bye.